All right, so last problem like this one is number 16 on page 603. So this time we're buying something that's, we're just doing 6 months um, with really high payments. So 6 months and 437. Now I'd flip those around compared to the other one because it doesn't matter. It's multiplication. So whether you take the months times the amount or the amount times the months, it doesn't matter. Okay, so for 6 months, you're paying $437, which is $2,622. Okay, so again, that's the amount you paid. Okay, the amount you're financing is 75%. So you did a 25% down payment, which means you're financing 75% of the $3,450, which ends up being $2,587.50. Again, that's the amount financed or borrowed. That's your loan. Okay, so you paid this much with your monthly payments. You took out a loan, if you want to think of it that way, for this amount because again, you didn't do the whole $3,450 because you only had to pay 75% of that. Okay, so you didn't pay 75% of it. You're loaning 75% of that. So subtract those two, and only $34.50. So obviously that's not very much, but that's because you have huge monthly payments and you're only paying for 6 months. Okay, so there's your finance charge. So that answers question A. Finance charge was $34.50. So for part B, finding the APR, again, what you do is you take the amount you financed, $34.50, out of the amount you did, or sorry, your finance charge, $34.50, out of the amount you financed. $2,587.50 times it by 100, which is just moving the decimal place over, and you get 1.33. So again, you're going to look in the big part of your chart in the 6th month row for 1.33. All right, so this can be sideways, but that's okay. So 6 months, 1.33. The closest is going to be 1.32. So 4.5% is your APR. So 1.32 is closest, so your APR is 4.5%. And that's all you have to do for those questions. All right, what we're going to look at now is what happens if we pay off a loan early. Now, one thing you have to do if you ever do this is you need to check your bank. A lot of banks charge you if you pay off a loan early. And although that seems really, really rude, the reason they do that is that's how banks make money, is by loaning money, because all the interest you pay. So if you pay off a loan early or you add more to each payment, okay, then what you're doing is you're going to lessen how much interest you pay the bank, which obviously they don't like. But most of them are usually okay with it because that just means you're a good customer. So for instance, like my student loan payment, I think was $123 or something like that. So I just always rounded up to $150. It was just easier than having to write different cents and that sort of thing, and that allowed me to pay it off earlier. So it's always a good idea if you can afford it to pay off a loan a little bit earlier. So what we're going to do, these problems only look at just paying the whole loan off early rather than doing a little bit extra each time. But that's always something you want to think of in the real world when you start having student loans or car payments or anything like that. Anytime you can add a little bit extra to your payment, it's going to help you pay less in the long run. All right, so paying off a loan early, what this means is you don't have to pay what is called unearned interest. Because again, what the APR does is it spreads out the interest over the whole time period of your loan. So if you pay off early, then you shouldn't have to pay all of that interest that you would have had to pay. So again, that's why banks don't like you to do it, but most of them will let you do it. So here's the formula. U equals, so U is your unearned interest. N times P times V over 100 plus V. Again, you don't have to memorize this or anything. Okay, N is the number of payments remaining. All right, so if you have a 24-month loan and you decide you're going to pay it off after 10 months, you would have 14 payments remaining. P is your monthly payment. So I know before P was your principal, but now it's your monthly payment for this formula. V is the tricky one. This is the value from the APR table. Corresponding to the number of payments left. Okay, again, that might not make sense right now, but hopefully when we do an actual problem, it will make a little bit more sense. Okay, so the big thing is when it asks you how much you're going to save by paying it off early, that's just asking you for this. This is the interest that you don't have to pay. You obviously still have to pay all the principal. You just don't have to pay the interest. So when it asks you how much you save, it's just doing this formula. All right, so let's look at page 603, number 18. Okay, so 48-month loan, and we already know that the monthly payments are $83.81, and she borrowed $3,500 total. And instead of making the 18th payment, she's just going to go ahead and pay it all off. All right, so part A says to determine the APR of the installment loan. So this is what we were, so this is what we just worked on. Okay, so we're not getting to this unearned interest part yet. First, we have to figure out the APR because we need to know that later on. So right now, she has 48 payments of $83.81, which is $40.22.88. So if she doesn't pay, if she makes every single payment when she's supposed to, that's how much she would pay. All right. She borrowed, or the amount she financed was $3,500. So $522.88. That's all of the interest. That's the entire finance charge if she made every single payment. Okay, so again, to find APR, you do that $522.88 divided by 3,500 times 100, and that gives you 14.94. So look that up in the 48 row, okay, the 48 row, find 14.94, that gives you an APR of 7%. Okay, so you have to know the APR in order to do this. All right. Part B says how much would she save if she went ahead and paid it all off on that 18th payment. So here's where it gets a little bit tricky. You just have to do 48 minus 18 to get your 30. So 30 is how many payments are left. You don't count the 18th payment. Okay, so 30 times your monthly payment is $83.81 times, now you need to look up the value of in your chart. So how this is different is instead of looking up row 48, you need to look up row 30, 7%. Gives you 9.3. Okay, so instead of using row 48 at 7%, you're going to use row 30 because that's how many payments are left. 7% is what we found in part A. So 7%, row 30 gives us 9.3. So V in our formula is 9.3. Try to get this all situated now. Over 100 plus 9.3. So you can do that in your head, or you can do it's up to you. So put this in parentheses and put this in parentheses and type it all in. And you get 213.93. So that's how much you would save if you paid it off after the 18th payment. Okay, that's how much you save. So instead of paying $522.88, you would subtract out the $213.93 for the extra interest that you would save, okay, or that you would actually pay. Part C wants to know then, if you actually go to the bank and pay this off, how much do you actually have to pay? So here's where it gets a little bit weird. What you have to do is you have to do your number of payments left times your monthly payment, because you still have to make those monthly payments. You have to pay all of that. But then you subtract out your unearned interest. That's why you have to calculate that first. Oops. Okay, so here's what's tricky. There are technically 31 payments left, even though you only use 30 up here. Excuse me. All right. You still have to make the 18th payment. Okay, so this would be 30 payments left that you're not paying the interest on. You're still paying the interest of the 18th payment. So that's why there's technically 31 payments left. All right, so whatever number you use up here, you have to just add 1 to it here. So 31 times 83.81 minus the 213.93. And that comes out to be 23.84.18. So in order to save you this much money, you have to have this much money to take to the bank with you on your 18th payment. Okay, we'll do a couple more of those on another video.